Colossal Biosciences says the first woolly mammoth in 4,000 years will be born in 2028, and it will walk out of an Asian elephant that never chose to carry it. That single sentence contains almost everything strange about this project, and most of it never makes it into the headlines. So let's go through it properly. 15 facts about the mammoth Colossal is building, in order, from the ones that surprise you to the ones that should probably worry you. Fact 1. It is not a mammoth. Not in the way you think. What Colossal is building is an Asian elephant with a set of mammoth traits written into its genome. The Asian elephant is already the mammoth's closest living relative, sharing an estimated 99.6% of its DNA with the woolly mammoth before anyone edits anything. So the work is not resurrection. It is rewriting a small fraction of an elephant to express cold weather features. Beth Shapiro, Colossal's own chief science officer, has said plainly that the goal is a functional proxy, an animal that looks and behaves like a mammoth, not a genetic carbon copy of one. Keep that word, proxy, in your head. It is going to matter for the next 14 facts. Fact 2. The traits they are chasing are specific, not vague. We are talking about a shaggy coat, smaller ears to conserve heat, extra fat for insulation, and a hemoglobin that keeps working in freezing blood. These are not random. Each one is a known mammoth adaptation, pulled from ancient DNA and matched against the elephant genome. The point is not to make an elephant hairy for show. It is to make an animal that could, in theory, survive a Siberian winter that would kill a modern elephant in days. Fact 3. They already proved part of it works, and it was a mouse. In early 2025, Colossal announced what they called the woolly mouse. It was an ordinary lab mouse edited to carry several mammoth-associated hair and fat genes at once, and it came out golden and thick-coated. Now, a mouse is not a mammoth. Critics were quick to say so, but that was never the claim. The mouse was a test of whether you could stack multiple cold adaptation edits into one living animal and have them all express correctly. It worked. That is the quiet significance most coverage missed. Colossal wasn't showing off a fuzzy mouse. It was showing that its editing pipeline holds up in a breathing animal. Fact 4. The number of edits is genuinely hard to picture. For the Direwolf project, Colossal made 20 edits across 14 genes and still faced heavy criticism that the result was a gray wolf in costume. The mammoth is a far bigger lift. The list of target genes runs into the dozens, and each edit has to land in the right place without breaking something else. This is not one cut. It is a coordinated rewrite, done in cells, before any embryo exists. Here is something easy to miss. All of that editing happens in a dish, not in an animal. And that leads to the part of the story that quietly falls apart. Fact 5. Colossal reported an elephant stem cell breakthrough, and it was a real milestone. In 2024, they announced they had made elephant-induced pluripotent stem cells, iPSCs, which are cells reprogrammed back into a blank state that can become almost any tissue. Elephant cells had resisted this for years. It matters because those stem cells are the raw material. You edit them, you turn them into an embryo, and you have your starting point without needing to harvest eggs from living elephants constantly. Fact 6. And this is where the whole timeline gets heavy. That embryo needs a womb. Colossal's stated plan is to use a living Asian elephant as the surrogate mother. Read that again. The Asian elephant is endangered. There are roughly 40,000 to 50,000 left in the world. So the plan to bring back one species leans on the reproductive body of another species that is itself sliding toward extinction. That is the fact the press releases tend to skip. Fact 7. Elephant pregnancy is the longest of any land mammal. About 22 months. Nearly 2 years per attempt. If an implantation fails, you do not try again next week. You lose the better part of a year. This single biological fact is why a 2028 birth is so aggressive. To hit it, an edited embryo essentially has to be implanted and holding by around 2026. The clock is not marketing. It is gestation. Fact 8. They are also working on an artificial womb, and it is not ready. Colossal has openly discussed developing ex utero gestation, growing a mammoth from embryo to birth entirely outside a living body, precisely to avoid using endangered elephants as surrogates. It is the ethical escape hatch for the whole project. The problem is that no one on Earth has gestated a large mammal to term in an artificial womb. Not close. So, for 2028, the realistic path still runs through a live elephant. Fact 9. Why do this at all? The headline answer is climate. The theory, associated with the ecologist Sergei Zimov and his Pleistocene park in Siberia, is that large grazers like mammoths would trample snow, knock down trees, and help maintain frozen grassland tundra. That frozen ground, permafrost, holds enormous amounts of carbon. Keep it frozen, the argument goes, and you keep the carbon in the ground. Fact 10. And be careful here because this is where hype outruns evidence. The permafrost cooling idea is a hypothesis, not a result. It has never been demonstrated at scale with mammoth-like animals because those animals do not exist yet. It would take thousands of them, over enormous areas, over decades to test. Vincent Lynch, a biologist at the University at Buffalo, has been blunt that the conservation and climate justifications for de-extinction are weak, and that we should be honest about that. So when you hear mammoths described as a climate solution, the accurate version is, it is a bet, and the returns are unproven. And then there is the strangest part. Fact 11. This animal would have no mother of its own kind, and no herd to learn from. Elephants and mammoths are deeply social. Calves learn migration routes, feeding, and social rules from older females across decades. A mammoth calf born to an elephant surrogate, with no mammoth herd anywhere on the planet, would be the only one of its kind, raised by a different species. What it would actually know how to do, or how it would even behave, is an open question no one can answer yet. Fact 12. There is nowhere to release it. Even if you succeed, a mammoth is built for cold, open tundra. Pleistocene Park in Siberia exists and is being expanded for exactly this vision, but it is a small site, and the geopolitics of doing large-scale rewilding in Russia in 2026 are, to put it gently, complicated. A mammoth in a facility is not a restored species. It is an exhibit. The gap between a born calf and a wild population is measured in generations. Fact 13. The name itself is contested, and by serious people. Critics, including Lynch, have argued that calling an edited elephant a mammoth is scientifically misleading, because you have not recreated the species, you have engineered a hybrid that resembles it. Colossal's own framing of a functional proxy actually agrees with the biology. The friction is about the marketing word, de-extinction, doing work the science does not support. If it looks like a mammoth and lives like a mammoth, but is genetically an edited elephant, whether it counts as a mammoth is a real and unsettled debate, not a technicality. Fact 14. Colossal is not really a mammoth company, and the money tells you so. The company was valued at about $10.2 billion as of early 2025, making it one of the most valuable private biotech firms on the planet. But its actual revenue does not come from mammoths, which have earned nothing because none exist. It comes from the tools built along the way, genetic engineering, cell science, biobanking, and its work spun into companies like Form Bio. The mammoth is the story that funds the toolkit. That is not an accusation. It is the business model, and it is worth understanding when you weigh any promise attached to it. Fact 15. The 2028 date is a target, not a guarantee, and everything above is why. To hit it, the edits have to hold. The edited stem cells have to become a viable embryo. That embryo has to implant in an elephant surrogate, and a 22-month pregnancy has to go right on close to the first serious attempt. Colossal has reaffirmed 2028 through 2026, but a slipped mammoth deadline would not be a scandal. It would be biology behaving exactly as hard as it always was. The honest thing to watch for is not a birth announcement. It is whether they report a confirmed, ongoing elephant pregnancy. That is the moment the timeline becomes real. So here is where it leaves us. Colossal is not lying to you. And it is not simply resurrecting a mammoth either. It is attempting one of the most ambitious pieces of genetic engineering ever tried, wrapped in a word, de-extinction, that promises more than the science can currently deliver. The animal at the end of it, if it arrives, will be something genuinely new, an edited elephant carrying the ghost of a mammoth, born into a world that has no place to put it yet. Whether that is a triumph or a warning probably depends on which of these 15 facts you weigh heaviest. Watch Colossal is quietly freezing 2,300 species. Here's why next. It is the other half of what this company is actually building, and it is stranger than the mammoth.